read a book, gonna be a better man than I am. So I go to Amazon.com, and I buy a dozen books, lots of books, smart books. They will ship them right away, in a day. And I have Amazon Prime, so it doesn't cost a dime. So I look at my new book, take a look at my book. Right away I tune out, don't like reading, get distracted, so I turn on my TV good, reading bad, and I watch Property Brothers for 11 fucking hours.
Ladies, gentlemen, and to all my Reese's pieces in between, yo, this is your guy, this is your dude, this is your self-righteous Republican, your cost conservative Jew. Yo, this is your SPiC. Yo, this is SoulPapo again with another episode of the SoulPapo Incognito podcast. And what do we call that around here? The SPiC podcast. And please believe, as I say, probably every damn week, yo, me and Arizona Mercer are going to get back together again real soon. We already rebranded and we're calling the show Arizona Soul. And as far as what the correlation with any sort of 1970s influences would be, I can't exactly say confirm or deny, other than it's probably just a mixture of our two names. However, as fate would have it, or as bullshit would continue, you know, Arizona Verse had a couple things he had to get straight before we can get on with the show. But you know what, yo, I love y'all too much. I put my family behind y'all so I can come and speak ignorantly to the masses and future listeners and what have you. And if anything, because it's been a very long week of BSing, trying to do OT at a temporary gig, just trying to milk it for what it's worth. I've been trying to wait on my major whale for it to beach itself so I can, you know what I'm saying, plummet and take all the resources. I've also just been dealing, and I don't know about y'all, but I got some kids. And actually, you know what, more importantly, if you didn't have kids, I'm pretty sure you're very excited about the next commercial holiday, which is Halloween. As I'm recording this thing, I'm just a few days ahead. I think Halloween lands this year on a Wednesday. I'm not too sure. By the time you hear this, it will be Sunday. Actually, I'm recording this on a Sunday. And I was able to get rid of my family, y'all, so I can do this and speak to y'all. Not without its own little BSs and whatnots, but again, sacrifice is worth the honey if you're willing to squeeze the tit. Or I don't know if that had correlate with something with lemons and limes, something of that nature, you know what I'm saying? But I wanted to speak on the Halloween thing because this happens every season where, everyone gets all excited and you're going to see those constant pictures on social media. And when I was younger, when I was a kid, I don't ever think I liked dressing up. And it's not even because I came from like a, a pretty ghetto family, that didn't, I guess encourage the dressing up and having to knock on other people's doors just to beg for candies and possibly get drugged and molested. Like that just wasn't a thing for me. And I think it wasn't until maybe I was a little bit older in my teens where kids want to go and snatch bags and do kind of hooligan-y stuff of that nature. And then I was kind of into that, not so much the snatching, but just to be out there amongst the peoples. And then as I got a little bit older and I became of age, I really appreciate Halloween for what the name of the episode is, and Ho is for Halloween. In the essence to where every hoe that you see is going to be dressed up like some cutesy yet sexy, like for whatever reason they're like, it's like a Handmaid's Tale, which is terrible if you watch the Hulu show or anything in correlation with those times. Yeah, they try to make it sexy, like it's ridiculous. And I laugh that we're so enamored with the culture or with the tradition of dressing up and being somebody else or whatever it is that it represents to you. I always thought of it as a Dia de los Muertos thing where, we had to respect and honor those that have passed and, wishing that, they're with you. I'm at the point where luckily my most immediate family that I care for, luckily, knock on wood, is still with us. And so I don't have to, light up a candle or give whatever sort sort of sacrament that they have in order to honor those that have passed. And I know those that have, so please believe, like, I'm not knocking it. Like, that's what I know it for. That's what if there's any sort of belief or wanting to continue, it's for that very thing, not to wear something skimpy, to show your ass. Which, mind you, as a man, I don't mind that whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Because who don't like to look at ass? Women like looking at ass. So it's like, so where can someone lose in that? Again, the part is just the hoism. You know what I'm saying? Like, and please believe there's hoisms in all of us, and whether or not you choose to live by your flesh is what's gonna push the hoism forward. And please believe, whatever drives you, go on and do it. Because I know when I was in my hoisms, I think that was when I was my most active, and I mean both in the streets and in the sheets. And I certainly was in a whole lot better shape when I was in those hoisms. But that's neither here nor there. That's not the whole point. Just what I'm saying, 'tis the season for hoisms, and of course cuffing season. So I laugh so much because of that correlation. Again, it's being the cuffing season, and for those that aren't in part of the urban community that are aware of that terminology, it's kind of when you find a bae of sorts, and you kind of hibernate for the winter, so to speak, to where instead of hoisms leading off into night bite night random encounters, you're more or less bundled up with someone warm, probably for the remaining fall season until winter's over and it's hot and people are wearing skimpy-ish again, and we're out there in the streets, back to your hoism. So again, it's like a tiny break that hoes have, again, so where you can kind of bring someone for the holidays and showcase to your family that you wasn't out in the streets being a dirty bastard. Now I laugh because usually the costume popularity is kind of what showcases kind of what we've been through, what we've been going through, what's been most popularly worn or bought. And again, mind you, I don't know how they predict these things. I don't know how far in advance people prepare for their costumes, because I've always been the type to do it very last minute. You know what I'm saying? And I always ended up dressing up as Jesus. That was just when I was in a Greek-like shape, and of course when I was trying to baptize hoes with my semen. Now, number one, and this didn't shock me at all, Fortnite. I saw some of the costume prices for what kids were paying for, adults, teens, or whatever, people who were trying to pay to look like their Fortnite characters, and it got into the hundreds. It was very disturbing, but again, doesn't shock me because that's a phenomenon. I'll get into talking about Fortnite later and the money that they've been bringing in so far. Spoiler alert, it's in the billions. It's ridiculous. Number two, Spider-Man. And this, of course, is the age-old classic. I mean, dude's been out since the late 60s. Most recently, though, of course, had a PS4 game, which I hear is the tits. I've been wanting it very badly. The only new game that I've had has been God of War. I got that for Father's Day. Damn, I'm trying to trade that mug on OfferUp to try to get me Spider-Man. But then Red Dead Redemption 2 just came out, so I'm gonna leave my nerdisms for later. Number 3 was a unicorn. Now, I know unicorns are ageless, timeless, and I'm pretty sure there's some kind of poetry going on where you can make a sexy unicorn, as well as a dinosaur. Number 4 on the list is dinosaur. It doesn't say what kind of dinosaur, just says dinosaur. Apparently, dinosaur is just one flat thing, which I'm assuming is a T-Rex, and that's that. Now, number 5, again, going back to hoisms, witch. Now, it doesn't say sexy witch, but I've never seen an ugly witch other than the witches that I've had to encounter in real life. Moving on, number 6, Harley Quinn, most undeniably, probably one of the sexiest characters in DC universe, for sure. Once Robbie, whatever the hell, the English chick that showed her tits in Wolf of Wall Street, once she played her, I mean, that kind of opened up the floodgates for hoisms and chicks that want to don that New Jersey like aesthetic. Number 7 is superhero. Again, no such name other than superhero, which makes me think it's just a generic nigga with a cape. But again, you don't gotta be too flossy to save a hoe, and that's what's gonna be happening a lot in these Halloween rodeos. Number 9. I'm sorry, skipping, don't even know my numbers. I'm dyslexic. Number 8, pirate. Now, really quickly, I will just throw out there, because I'm not too sure if I mentioned it in the entertainment news. I probably don't. Pirates of the Caribbean is being rebooted. And they're saying without the $20 million man, or I forget what he owes. I know he's going through some bankruptcy stuff. Yes, him. Yeah, they're going to be making movies without him, Mr. Johnny Depp. But yeah, so raw pirate, which of course everyone associates with Johnny Depp's character for whatever reason. So, and I don't know if that's just a reason to get drunk or to be stumbling or because that's just sexy. One of the things, and I laugh so much, and I'm gonna call out his name. We called him Mario Punal. Man, I miss him so much. He was my brother both in school because we were outcasts. He was the only other rocker kid that I knew. You know what I'm saying? He was my drummer when it came to wanting to produce tracks, and then whatever our little falling out for me not, I guess being on his nuts or having to keep up with him every 24 hours. He admitted to me that he'd probably go gay for Johnny Depp. So I always clown on people that admit to me shit like that. Anyways, number 9 is a rabbit. Just a rabbit. Now I can, being the geek that I is, you know what I'm saying, I'm into Raving Rabbits, the Ubisoft owned game, and they did a cross-play thing with Super Mario, universe called Kingdom Rabbits. I can't even remember. I don't know why me mentioned it, but I'm pretty sure there's a host somewhere dressing up like a sexy rabbit, and actually brings me back to Mean Girls, which I'm gonna be talking about more reboots later on in the entertainment segment, but when I think of Mean Girls, I think her name was Ashley, or no, was it Selma? No, not Selma. She was the girl who did Deep Throat, something Hayfield. I can't even remember. Damn, I feel so sorry. But I remember when there was the Halloween segment, she was in her little Hoey outfit, just with some little bunny ears, and like, well, what are you? She's like, duh, I'm a rabbit. Anyways, please believe you're gonna see a lot of that, and most certainly you're gonna see a lot of number 10, a bunch of princesses. Because what hoe does not wear something skippy and expect to land herself someone before the end of the night thinking that it's going to be a Prince Charming when really he's going to pull out the pull-out technique, and she may or may not be getting pregnant depending on her insurance. Number 11, Clown. Now that's of course an age-old favorite, both scary and I never really F with it, as well as supposedly made for children, which I guess is the crazy part of it. Number 12, not surprised to see Wonder Woman up in the get-up again, out since I think the late 60s, definitely no later than the 70s, and of course made again popular by Miss was it Gal Gadot? I forget her name, the sexy Jewish ex-military broad. I laughed so much because I found out that she was doing promotion for, and I'm not too sure if the phone company is Israeli, but it's some kind of phone company called Yahweh. Not Yahweh. Yahweh is the name of the Lord. Something Huawei, something of that nature. And when she was sending tweets about how much she loved her phone, you can see the very bottom of the screenshot that she sent of her tweet sent by iOS, which of course we know is to be as an iPhone. So that's not a bunch of scandal, whatever. That's not going to affect her movie from coming out in 2 years. Number 13, a mouse. You figure, man, we hate rats, so we step on them and trap them and this and that, but a mouse for whatever reason is cute. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a hoe with some mouse ears and some panties on. That's what you're going to see, and I'm not arguing. And number 14, The Incredibles. I didn't get to see Incredibles number 2. I was a big fan of it, the first one when it came out. Most certainly you're going to see dude trying to look buff, or you're going to see Elastigirl with the, you know what I'm saying, with the panouche that I'm pretty sure has, factory settings. Switching on over, number 15, again, age-old and classic, The Mermaid, which technically is a witch of the sea, but again, we correlate to Disney's Little Mermaid, and, every girl that wish she had red hair is definitely gonna rock that. Number 16, because I definitely don't know how to read numbers. Zombies. Now, of course, again, age-old classic since the dawn of the dead, if not before. It's probably one of the easiest things to do. Look beat up and busted. Bam, you're a scary monster. Number 17. Monster. Again, doesn't say exactly what the monster is, just a generic monster. Again, scary face. Probably looks like he came from the Goonies. Whatever, that's number 17. Number 18, Ninja. I can't really correlate how far back the aesthetic of a ninja goes. I know it can go back to ancient Japanese times. I'm guessing, maybe I'm thinking Ronins. Maybe I'm just being racist and bunching all the Asians together. I'm not too sure. But like anything else, number 19, a doll. Doesn't say what kind of doll, but if we have any Nicki Minaj fans out there, this bitch thinks she's Barbie. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see a bunch of hoisms like that. Again, I ain't too mad. Number 20, Batman. Again, age-old classic. Been out since the late 40s, 50s. Definitely brought back. My favorite Batman, of course, is Frank Miller's Fat Batman. Who knows why? Number 21, the 1980s. Again, for whatever reason, 80s was such a, in pop culture in general, whether it was in music, whether it was in clothing, whether it was just, cocaine and AIDS. For whatever reason, 1980s holds a dear place in everyone's heart. So, and then of course, not needing to match and wearing neon colors is always an excuse to call it the 80s. So there you go. Number 22. Speaking of AIDS, a bear. Now again, I'm not too sure if this means a Chicago bear. I'm not too sure if this means like a big gay grizzly bear, as in, the euphemism for a big gay. Not too sure, but a bear is number 22 on the list. So whatever that goes, I'm pretty sure there's a demographic for it. Number 23, Black Panther, again, making a big comeback. I think it was last year. I remember when the movie came out. Was it the beginning of the year? I can't recall because the DVD came out like literally 2-3 months after we were trying to jump on that spin, just in case people weren't gonna, continue with it. But again, finally another black hero since what, Blade? The Hawk dude from the Iron Man series, or was it Captain America? See, I can't even know. So again, another big reason to have someone for the culture. And number 25, which again, you're gonna, I don't know why we recycle these from October to November. Maybe it's just the season when these shits grow. But number 25, a pumpkin. So again, I'm pretty sure you're going to see a sexy pumpkin with the dick hole cut out in the front and the back for whatever action is going to be taken out immediately. And yeah, that's gonna call it for all the hotastic costumes of 2018. So please, when you see them, you think of me. Alright, so let's jump right into the news, because I'm pretty sure y'all have heard it constantly since it was reported. Maybe if you even keep up with the news outside of this, who knows? But there was a bunch of bombs that were sent out to a bunch of Democratic parties, or even more specifically, Trump public haters. So it was sent out to the Obamas, to the Clintons, even interracial mixer, freaking Robert De Niro, which cracked me up just because there's been a lot of celebrities, that have been on the Trump shit list, and he most recently had stated his stance on how disgusted he was, which is funny that Alec Baldwin didn't get one, because obviously he mimics him on the freaking Saturday Night Live thing every now and again. But the thing that got me so much about it, if you kept up with it, was the fact that it was so cookie cutter and basic type of bomb that they created. Like they literally gave the layout to everyone, so I almost felt like on the sneak tip, like they want people to create bombs. They wanted people to not worry about having to Google the shit, and they just told you, well, you get a PVC pipe, you get a clock, you get some wires. Like they damn near told you how to construct the thing. And it was so weird that was part of the headlines. So even for people that aren't even interested in clicking on the store, which is most folks because they just go off the headlines, that they gave you all this detail that again was unnecessary. And one of the things that was so crazy about it is once they found someone to accuse it off of, his name was Caesar Sayuk, who I was trying to look up who that ethnicity was. So when I think Caesar, I'm thinking, oh, well, he must be Mexican, Cesar. But then I was thinking to myself, no, well, Caesar is Greek. But then that last name, I'm like, is that native? And I looked up, and I guess he was claiming that he was Seminole, whichever that is. I know it's a real ancient type thing, but then the tribe had announced that he wasn't one of them, and it just tripped me out. And I'm thinking to myself, the way that this was coming out, it was almost as if they wanted it to be so blatantly, against, a Trump supporter or haters, that that it obviously had to come from one side or the other, like almost as if, oh, the Democrats said it to themselves, or oh, this is obvious Trump hater because so all that scrutiny is what upset me when I would see, like, for example, a public speaker or White House press secretary, whoever she is, Sarah Huckabee Bitchface Sanders, and she was putting on record that we should, because she said you choose to attack and to divide. And I'm thinking to myself, woman, are you talking about Trump? Because he's the one that obviously is inspiring these crazy fools to, act in the effery that we've been seeing. And again, it broke my heart because it's such like a facade. You could tell that it's BS, and because it smells so much like BS, people don't even want to deal with it. They change the channel, and then bam, it's like you're ignoring what's going on. You're ignoring, what other details could be and whatever said thing, and it just makes you want to disconnect yourself from even keeping up. So because of that, if you don't keep up, if you don't vote, because we're in the voting season, for those of y'all that don't know, November 6th is going to be the day. Again, mind you, it's not for presidency, but it is starting at the smaller council. So again, all of this building up and all the people that support and then push forward. Understand these people are going to be in bed with whoever's going to be in power later on 2 years down the line when it's time to vote for the big leagues. So again, it all does start now, and I don't want to preach too much, but you know what I'm saying, I don't know if I told y'all this, but in this mixed bag of looking for a new gig, the quickest thing I could find, and it was damn near minimum wage, which is what makes me super bitter to go to that place considering what I was making before. But whatever you do, what you gotta do when you got a family, you gotta provide for it. I've been working for the election, so it's like doing just checks and balances and verifications and all this monotonous thing that you can tell that they definitely sleep on throughout the years to keep each other busy. And it's ridiculous work, but work nonetheless. And just it's been a trip, really, being in these trenches with folks, because I could tell all these people have been through some ish, and that's why they're there. And I can't front. I'm there for calling the hoe a prostitute. So you know what I'm saying? I'm not any more saint than anyone else. But I'm like, oh, you a crackhead. Oh, you just retired. You probably can afford your medications, poor thing. And so you could just see the story on people's faces, and it's a trip. And it's weird what brings people together. And again, whether or not we choose to fight for what we believe in, people that are willing to at least send in an early ballot is gonna push the needle. So again, if you don't like where you at, if you don't like where you sit, figure out what politics are happening around you, and know that regardless of how fixed the very tippity top is, we can at least work with the things that are beside us. Because again, those that are in local office, those that are, down in our jurisdictions and areas, they're the ones who are going to be sucking on whatever dick is going to be in the president's seat. Just how I get so mad when I see the Republicans out from my state, because I'm in a red state, unfortunately, and I see how they back Kavanaugh, and of course they're on Trump's dick, and it's just like, look, we need to get these people out of office, because they're only going to support more of the F-type stuff that we see, taking the cake. So again, y'all have the choice. Y'all have the power. And I laughed so much because I saw Caitlyn Jenner, a.k.a. former Olympian / white superstar hero Bruce Jenner, and she was saying that he or she was wrong about Trump. Thinking that just because he was a Republican, and of course, Bruce Jenner had been a Republican since forever, and the fact that Trump had embraced him or her when she had gone through her transformation, and she had gone to the Klan rallies, and she was thinking, he's gonna be a supporter of the LGBTQ movement. If anything, and it's the big, especially him being in TV or the entertainment industry. When he was part of the Kardashians, you should know all the PR things that you have to say to save face. You should know all the things and all the publicity stunts that you make in order to make yourself look a certain way. So why not? You, who again is an Olympic hero, or was an Olympic hero, because I'm not too sure if you're going to keep that or not if you change your name. I'm pretty sure you lose credibility to the other stuff. I'm not too sure how to make the rules. I'm just saying, like, the fact that, Trump was, he was covering his bases. Same reason why, unfortunately, he got the most he got the most Black Baptist type chicks to be hollering and hooting and damn near wearing blackface, and we'll get to more blackface here in a moment, during the rallies to try to rile up the black supporters. And again, I'm not hating on that, and you know what, you could possibly be African American and be a Republican, but again, if you did, it's because you thought that they would represent something, and they were someone that you knew from church that for whatever reason supporting them, so you figure, I don't mind the politics, but if they're doing it, I'm going to do it. So again, it's a lead by lead example. So if you buy all the right players, then of course you're going to cover all your bases like a rainbow, and that's exactly what was happening. I even saw some people from Univision, which is a Spanish station catered, I guess, more locally for me towards Mexicans, and I'm pretty sure towards the east, towards the little Afro-Latinos, but like it tripped me out just thinking like, yo, you guys are obviously being bought. You guys obviously don't know who you're representing right now, nor do you know the shenanigans behind this man's madness. And that's the part that trips me out the most, because again, people are so easily bought. And again, working in the elections, I was able to see some of these names, and even though it might sound racist, I was playing guess the race, and I was like, all right, well, this obviously is some Asian of some sort with a name like Zung. And I'm like, I wonder if he must be a store owner or some kind of business property owner, because I was like, what the hell are they signing up as a Republican. Like, you gotta understand that your demographic is a certain niche that needs to be filled, contained, and operated on in order to fill whoever else's agenda. And that's just the sad truth of it. I mean, unless you find someone who, is really working politics, you got to believe that if they have a financier backer, it's for a reason, because they have an agenda. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's just going to put money into false hopes. You know what I'm saying? Unless, again, there's an agenda behind it. So, again, I laugh so much that Caitlyn Jenner had to come to the realization of, knowing that they were wrong. But, I mean, at the same time, did you not know Trump to be a misogynistic playboy? You know what I'm saying? Smacking girls in the pussy and just doing whatever the hell he wanted, using up his daddy's money. Like, does that not did that not correlate? Did you really put that behind your blinkers? Like, so again, when I see people like, again, Caitlyn Jenner representing the LGBTQ for whatever reason, just because he turned trans, when you see Kanye West, again, representing the youth and also the blacks and also whoever else follows hip hop, so you got a big demographic in that basket. And then I think he tried to get Steve Harvey. So when you see all these other people that he tries to buy in, again, that is a buy-in. You know what I'm saying? It's for a reason. And that's why I laughed so much when you saw all the faint taint of racism and the hate-effable former Fox News anchor, now former NBC political commentator Megyn Kelly. She had made comments about blackface being okay, and then of course made a super PR verified apology that it seemed so by the book that it literally seemed insincere, even though it was all the perfect words to say and her tone was just right. With it, she sold it really good, but again, because it was so perfect, you could sniff the BS on it. And instead of trying to, make this like a learning moment where they can show how, a community on diversity can, speak on strong subject matters, they just let her go. And mind you, her same people on the same crew were folks like Al Roker, who again probably like the only black dude outside of I think Megan did a show with some other black dude who was a football player. I don't know. I don't keep up with the foosballs, but it was crazy for her to make that statement. And I think it was something more or less the lines of blackface being okay for like during Halloween or whatever. But when you think about blackface back in the day and how it was to mimic black folks and all the bamboozleness and whatnot, like you gotta understand they're mimicking and they're hurting. So even though you might see it as just an innocent little thing, just because you might have dressed your kid up in blackface and thought, oh no, he's just trying to be funny, whatever, they understand you're making fun of a whole class and race. Like that's just the point blank of it. Can someone black wear blackface? And well, we saw Mr. Aubrey, aka Drake, do it, and even he got some backlash. But again, he's of the race, at least partially, and of course he has a big niche in hip hop, so it's not as bad. Whatever. Again, of the culture. So you have a little bit of wiggle room when it's that case. But if you're not, you're really stepping and you can really get in, a lot of trouble, and obviously a lot of backlash, and who knows where she's going to move on from this. But, it did trip me out just to think that she thought she can get away with it, and that the apology would have been something so easily to throw out, because it is. People they throw out apologies, and you expect that to cure. You know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately, when you step that boundary, it's just unfortunately so much easier just to cut off ends. I mean, shit, we saw the same thing with Roseanne, someone who is funny and who put so much work into creating this series, and then again she just happens to say the wrong things. You know what? You're tainted. And maybe come back in a year. The way Louis C.K. did. I'll get to him in a little bit once we cover entertainment news. But I guess moving along, because I want to keep all the local U.S. not so much local, but all the U.S. headlines that were out there. There was a Slane University student. Her name was Lauren McCluskey, and she had told campus police about her ex-boyfriend, who was a 37-year-old registered sex offender named Melvin Rowland. Guess the race, and he had been harassing her. And days before he shot and killed her, she had told the local campus police, and they didn't do nothing. They didn't check with his PO. They didn't, not a damn thing. And then he shot himself, I think, after going to church or something, maybe trying to wash off his sins or what have you. But what tripped me out the most not only when I saw the brother, because I'm thinking to myself, oh well, okay, and I was so surprised that this news publication, who was the news publication? It was Fox News. I'm so surprised that they didn't say black man killed white college student, because they're so notorious for that. But again, we're on some real sensitive times that even the most racist of news outlets are like, you know what, maybe we gotta, maybe not ease up, maybe let's just ease up on the gas. Let's definitely put his picture up first. But let's put the little poor white girl as a clip art because you want to see what happened to this little cute little thing. But it tripped me out. She was with just such an old brother. Again, he didn't look it, but the fact that he was a sex offender, that definitely lets me know he was dicking down little 17-year-olds. I feel bad that he had to, take the life that he did. And I don't understand, because especially that's an old man. I'm sorry if you're older than that, but I mean, if you're 37 messing around with a college student, you're too old for that shit. And I could just imagine him getting jealous of some young jocks, probably dicking her down or threatening to or what have you. And, you done broke the circuit of, of jungle fever to this broad. So you just open up Pandora's box. So, of course, she has a plethora of younger brothers ready, eager, and willing. I mean, it looks all bad, and I'm sorry to focus on the parts that I have, but I want to keep it moving. I guess in the same vein as shootings, there was a Kroger killer that I heard about that had, I guess, aimed at two blacks and, shot and killed them, and apparently, because it was kind of a big deal, this Kroger shooting, and I wasn't too exactly sure if it was like a mass shooting, because the way that they gave in the news the day that, it popped up was just, oh, it's breaking still, trying to figure it out, but apparently this dude was trying to get into what I'm assuming is a Baptist church. It was a primarily black church, and I guess was trying to infiltrate that thing and do it the same way the kid from Texas did. But again, they just kind of show. There's so many shootings, like literally I couldn't keep up with all of them. It's just one of the ones that stuck out to the most that I'm just remembering right now. But again, on a daily basis, there's some kind of effort like this happening, y'all, and the fact that it happens so often, we just become so immune to it. It's just it's whatever. Okay, no, let it get more than 5. Nah, that wasn't really a mass shooting. Then talk to me when it's over 51. Like, it's a shame. So what does one do then in the mix of all this animosity, whether it's race wars, whether it's race baiting, whether it's just whatever is going on all around the country? How do you settle the woes? And I tripped out because out of all the things that Trump could have, been enforcing or talking about, a story from the White House goes on to say that his task force has been trying to come up with some kind of 5G wireless strategy. And I laughed my ass off because out of all things to fixate on, to work on, because again, depends on what side of the fence you is. If you're Anglo-Saxon, you probably don't want to hear about all this race stuff because, you know what I'm saying, you don't want to involve yourself, you don't want to pick a side, or you don't want to say that, you're one or the other. If you're someone of color, of course this is affecting you, and this is all that you can think about, because what else do you got to be scared about? And then on the other hand, what can we all agree on? What are we all obsessed with? Our phones. What G are we on right now? We're on the 4G. So again, I laugh so much both at two ends. One, the fact that 5G was gonna be coming out anyway, right? It's just the obvious next step of wireless technology, and I'm pretty sure it's already out for some folks. But as far as how it's gonna roll out to the masses, like, it's already a thing. You know what I'm saying? So really, the president didn't have to do jack shit about it. But then on top of that, because the folks that don't want to pick a race, don't want to pick a side, don't want to get too political, what's one thing y'all can rally about this next wireless 5G thing, yo? Because I got a phone, I want the new next greatest whatever the hell. So I laugh that's the bright side. That's the thing we have to look forward to. That's the thing where we can be like, oh, well, you know what, I can't agree with all this other stuff, but, I did hear his task force help create 5G. We got to give it up to him for creating this 5G. I'm going to be able to download porn a whole lot more faster, my G. Like, no, that's ridiculous. And that's also the end of the U.S. news. All right, so if we move it around the globe here again, it don't get too much brighter, I'm sorry to say. And when I think of Trump, every single time, especially supposed to bringing jobs to the country, even though he outsourced more jobs than Obama did, I always think of China. And in China, there was a knife-wielding woman who had injured, and I forget how many she killed, but she at least injured 14 children after recess. So again, she was a Chinese kindergarten teacher, and this attack had no reason or rhyme to it other than that it might have been due to personal grievances, which apparently has been an upswing. There's been a lot of knife attacks in China, and because it's a knife attack is because they have such strict gun laws that a knife is the closest thing you could possibly get your hands on. Now, the part again that trips me out and breaks my heart a little bit, not even the fact that they're young and that they're kids, not even the fact that they're the youth of the nation, and then, who knows what they could have evolved and become and saved and changed. It's more the fact that it's such a stressful job to have. It's such an important one, and we pay nothing for it. Kind of bring things back here, domestic or locally, nationally, what have you, with all the Red for Ed movements and stuff. I'm not too sure if you had it in your states where they tried to fight for the pay wages for the teachers and stuff. They deserve it as far if they're good. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're have patience and they're helping the kids to learn. Like that job is priceless, as far as there's no amounts that you can ever really pay for your worth, because it's so important and it's so difficult to do. Like, I can't stand my kids, for sure my stepkids, but even my own baby, who I love more than life itself. Like, I love him so much. At the same time, I'm like, man, I don't know how to deal with you. Like, I love you so much, I miss you so much of the day, but damn, me just being here this couple hours, like, I'm tired. I'm ready for a nap. Why won't you sit still? So I can't imagine, because, just like the old saying goes, a face only a mother can love. And truly, 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 no stranger's going to want to put up with your kid's shit. No strangers want to hear the crying, the yelling, this disobedience before they want to choke them out. So I can't imagine a teacher, I'm not too sure how they pay people out there, the way they do when they, make our iPhones. They pay them off in rice and beans. So I can't imagine what they're paying the damn teacher for her to deal with some badass baby kids. And, I'm not too sure they have to speak both Mandarin and Cantonese. I'm not too sure how that works, but I can imagine also how frustrating that would be. And then to get to the point where she's like, all right, I'm going to stab these niggas as soon as I'm done eating my lunch and as soon as they come in from recess. Like, that's a trip. That's scary. Obviously it's a mental health issue, and there should be a whole lot more, investigated into, but stabbings have been at an upswing. Again, I'm not sure if I said this or not already, but people have been getting real irate, and because they ain't got no guns to let it off, they got to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's just scary. Just more importantly for the kids. And again, I'm pretty sure there's probably limitless amounts of stories of this nature, but when I saw that, I was like, Jesus Christ, have mercy. Because that's wild, And there's another story that was out there. There was a man, he had got arrested. He was an unnamed man, which surprisingly didn't give out his name, but he was 45 years old. And he got arrested for allegedly trying to steal an 803-year-old document called the Magna Carta. Now, for y'all that don't know, they probably just think it's a Jay-Z album. The Magna Carta, which was established the idea that everyone is subject to the law, even kings. It was a direct response by English medieval King John something from 1189 to 1216. It's pretty much a political, it was needed in a political crisis. It was really constitutional is what it was. But you know what that's going to do for the world news, because I'm just, here comes another skit.
I'll take a large, please, can't believe my eyes. Sprinkles and fudge and a smelly surprise. Oh, ice cream lady, thank you for letting me eat your pussy.
Moving on over to business news, and some sort of segue from the skit you just heard, my childhood. Hasbro is laying off 10% of its employees, and they're saying it's due to Toys R Us going under. Now, sales had already gone down by 12%, but I guess this move is them trying to save 30 to 40 million by the year of 2020. Now, most of the job cuts were outside of the U.S., thank you very much, Trump, and they say that an estimated 85% of toys that are sold in the U.S. are actually made in China. Now, news of this made the stock fall 7%, but whatever, that's to be expected. They figured out all the projections and whatnot, and Hasbro, again, they're probably one of the bigger toy manufacturers as far as popularity, given the overpriced stuff, because to my surprise, year in, year out, the company that produces the most toys in this country, McDonald's. Ain't that something? Anyways, y'all can read up on this. It was terrible that the Toys R Us that closed and all the stuff, brick and mortars, across the globe, were thinking how are we gonna survive if they had gone down. But those projections, those are writings on the wall from a long time ago. And the sheer fact that even after they dismantled, they want to try to reboot it again, as if people are going to have any belief or any stock in, contracts they can try to sign to get buildings or to do what have you. Fortunately, the internet is way too poppin' and too popular and too easy to access for others to kind of do the whole rigmarole of having somewhere where you can actually stroll and window shop. Unfortunately, the only windows we're going to be shopping through are the computer or phone screens that we hold in our possession. But in the realm of phones, one of the things that tripped me out when I was reading was the Android creator, the creator of Android for Google, Andy Rubin. He says that there's been a bunch of wild allegations concerning his sexual misconduct, and a $90 million deal as an exit strategy. So I guess he had like an exit deal to give him $90 million, slowly but surely. And I read something somewhere that said he's gonna get $2 million every 4 years, which I can imagine how long that's gonna take. A good night. I mean, I guess you knock it. I mean, it would take too long. Matter of fact, let me just do some quick math right here as I'm talking to y'all. I probably should have done this earlier. But if you had $90 million, you divide that by what? By 4, that's 22. No, I did that wrong. Let's try that again. 90 million. You're going to divide that by 2. That's 45. So it's going to take him 85 years to get all of his money. Nah, I'm probably not doing the math here properly, but I don't know why he doesn't get 2 mil every 4 years. That just seems to be like too slow of a trickle. But again, at this point, at his current time, because he just got divorced from his wife back in August, they're trying to, I believe that's when the smear campaigns happen, trying to belittle his name, trying to get that money off him. And he might have talked about that money slowly trickling in, so he probably had to pay the bitch alimony. I don't know how it works. It breaks my heart to think of that you can work so hard and dedicate yourself and be such a creative, and then someone who happened, wash your drawers, maybe cook for you, is going to take such a big cut. I mean, they are partners, and marriages are a big deal, so definitely think before you say I do. But speaking of big money though, Epic Games, which I was geeked out to talk about, the company behind Fortnite and a software engine called the Unreal Engine, they've raised up to $1.25 billion. Again, that's $1.25 billion in just the game alone. Now, mind you, games are very expensive to make. A lot of times most companies that they don't see proper profit from it, which is why a lot of development companies will dismantle and things of that nature. And then the way that they decided to go about things, instead of charging your average $60 that most will charge for a game, less if it's an independent company, and I believe games are going to get more expensive, unfortunately, because of all the stuff that kind of goes into them, which is why they sell DLC, which is why they sell season passes, which is why they try to milk every nook and cranny, dollar, penny, and cent and nipple off you in order to make their ends meet. Or, of course, just to, make profit in general. And the way that they went about it, by making this game a free-to-play game on damn near every platform, iPad, iPhone, Android, Xbox, PC, Mac, PlayStation, Nintendo. Because they're on every sort of surface. Again, this is a free game that everyone's playing, so of course you want to be a part of it because everyone's doing it. And then again, they get you with buying new costumes or getting certain things, or this, that, and another. And all that nickel and diamond, it created $1.25 billion. That's a big deal. Companies are happy to sell 1 million copies because they're making their money a little bit differently, kind of looking long term. They milked it. They're doing it big, and I feel like they deserve it because that kind of strategy could be hit and miss. You know what I'm saying? It's great that it was for free, but you really got to hope that you can get a community behind it. And obviously they played it right. They got the, people from Twitch and whatever other broadcasting networks to kind of showcase, how into it they are into this game. And it's a game that works well. You know what I'm saying? It's not the most high-tech, most advanced looking graphics, which is what works in its honor, which is why it can work on your phone, which is why it's so easy to be able to pick up and play. Something like that is such not only a big up for their own creative partners, but also for the software that they're using. Again, it's called the Unreal Engine. A lot of game companies rent out that engine, that graphics, and all the creative tools behind it. Again, I'm not that smart or that much into it, but I know that they're able to. Games like Rocket League use it. Games like Unreal Tournament, which I guess is the name. And there's so many games that use this engine to create games. So again, it's such a flagship title to showcase, look what you can do. Obviously you can make things look a whole lot prettier. It's up to your creative mind to create. And again, because it's a tool, they get to rent and pimp this thing out, and of course make more money and more money and more money, and that just geeks me out. So I guess in the realm of business, and now I'm talking about video games, let's jump into some tech news. Just going right in for the gun, right off the hip. Apps now can track you even after you uninstall them, which was a big deal when we heard about Lyft and Uber doing that shit. But now phone providers, they're not doing a damn thing. Now they make money from you using up the internet. So think about it. So why are they going to get mad at a company who, again, they're using their information for whatever sort of purposes? You hope it's not malicious, but whatever. They're getting their information. They're pimping you out. They're selling your information to others so they know what to sell you so they can make more money. But on top of that, you figure, oh, well, what are the phone companies getting? Well, check this out. If you're using data, excuse me, I'm getting all choked up and I'm a little bit thirsty and I'm kind of going with it. And I'm looking at this joint like, oh, I can't wait to smoke it. But I don't want to get too retarded. Well, I'm recording. Taking a little bit of puffs every now and again. That might be my part of my eccentricity, my being maybe I'm too stoned. Who knows? But as they're tracking you, as they're getting all this information, if you're not on Wi-Fi, guess what? You're using cellular data. If you're using cellular data, guess who's profiting from that? The phone company. Now, I'm not too sure how it works for those that are, have the unlimited stuff, but I'm pretty sure there's caps when it comes to unlimited stuff so that it starts throttling and it starts slowing down, so then you could pay for it to go faster and yada, yada, yada. I mean, there's so many ways for them to get what they want. And the fact that, hey, we're not the one that's doing it. We're not the one that's tracking. So again, it's like a win-win situation. And that's the thing that messes me up the most. Now, Apple's Tim Cook had give a heads up that a personal data collection is being weaponized against us with military efficiency. That's what he was quoted saying, military efficiency. And what messes me up about that, now, I mean, obviously, look, if you commit some kind of crime, and as far as something that, I don't know, caused the death or what have you, and they're trying to trace things, like, look, I can't be too mad if they want to try to, connect the dots to try to figure out if you did it, how you did it, what have you. But for them just to kind of look into things just willy-nilly and for whatever other purposes that they might desire, just because they might have a nagging suspicion, that's our personal information. So again, everyone wants to be in the forefront saying that they're not cooperating, that your personal information, but there's ways to hack this stuff. And, who knows what other hackers that are out there, whether it be anonymous or some other, company under the umbrellas and ranks of those sorts of folks, that can get into your thing and, find out whatever the hell they want to find out. You might think, oh, it's not a big deal. You might think, oh, well, I don't got nothing to hide. But there's just a bigger picture that we don't correlate as far as what our freedoms become. Because then when things become so transparent, it's like, oh, well, if you're taking a shit and you're on your phone and that camera can, activate, now it's personal. Now it's something you didn't give consent for. Now that's something you don't want other people to see. But again, there's such a blurred line that they can make whatever excuse they want for whatever the hell they want to do. So whether or not you want to accept that or you're with it, I mean, there's the whole reason why we had those laws, delegating the, I'm trying to remember, was it NATO? It was something just having to do with our internet freedoms. And it was a big deal when Obama was in, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, if we blur the lines and get distracted with other retarded headlines that, we're not going to, look at the big picture, that's exactly what they, want us to do. So speaking of the distractions, I'm going to get right into entertainment news, and we're going to start off here with my girl, Lucy Boynton. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. She's a little güerita who plays Freddie Mercury's fiance / partner / the chick that he left all his fortune to, named Mary Austin, and the new biopic of Queen. Now, she had spoken to media outlet NME about the backlash that the movie was getting for straight washing Freddie Mercury. Now, at the time of this recording, the movie hasn't come out yet, at least not nationwide. I know it's out in the UK. There's already reviews for it. I definitely want to see it. It's not out till November 2nd out here in the States, at least here in Arizona for sure. I'm planning on seeing that. Don't care how broke I is. I'm going to sell a stereo system or something. I'm going to watch that movie. Just because I'm such a Freddie Mercury fan. And I'm also a fan of the Something Malek dude. Forget his freaking name. I have Mr. Robot here somewhere, and he plays Freddie Mercury. And I guess the first trailer, I didn't even notice this because it's been such blurred lines in the only 3 trailers that they showcased for the movie. But apparently they just were focusing on his sexuality being straight. Now, mind you, Why the F that should be a problem with anybody is not your damn business. What he did behind closed doors ain't your damn business. Well, and this what lets me know that these are just culture vultures, or just whatever online activists, and I forget what the name for that is. They just want something to get pissed off about. Now, mind you, was Freddie Mercury freaky? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Did he mess with dudes? I mean, he had AIDS, you know what I'm saying? Like, so he was into a bunch of stuff. Who knows what drugs? I doubt that they're going to get that into it, considering that it's a big motion picture movie not made by A24. So as far as how deep in the cut they're going to get, we can't say. But there's a lot of backlash to the fact that they weren't showcasing that, you know what I'm saying, that Freddie Mercury gobbled dick. And who knows whether he was a bottom or a top. You know, I don't know. You would think by looking at him he was a bottom, but at the same time, I mean, dude was a star. So, I mean, you figure he'd be the one knocking the boots. Who knows? Who's to say? Who can judge, right, other than God? And I just laughed at that they're getting mad about straight washing. Now, mind you, when they whitewashed, and mind you, I'm thinking right now Iron Fist, but he was always a white boy. But then again, to think that this is a white boy that knows some kind of ancient Asian karate or whatever fighting technique that it was, people were getting pissed about it. When they, you know what I'm saying, when they changed the ethnicity, like, who is it? Scarlett Johansson's fine ass was in Ghost in a Shell, which is like a Japanese character. So why they put her obviously to sell the damn movie, so they got mad that they whitewashed the character. So that's what it means when you're washing something in whatever way, that you're whitewashing. Apparently in this case you're straight washing. So I'm not too sure if they're thinking to themselves, oh, why couldn't you find like a willing and able gay actor? But at the same time, most actors are gay. You know what I'm saying? Most live in the closet, or, you know, have, you know, whatever sorts of fun in the sun when, you know, it comes to whatever, you know, Illuminati events. Like, there's no doubt that shit pops off. But why they would pick a publicly straight person? Like, why are we getting mad about this stuff? Look, how they sell something, again, has to be marketable. And you figure the game market's pretty damn big, whether it be, you know, weddings, whether it be bakeries, whether it be nightlife, whether it be fashion, whatever the case may be. There's such a big market that can be particularly catered to something. But at the same time, when you're trying to reach the masses, you don't want to make it too taboo. You know, that's just plain and simple. You don't want to let people know that there's medicine in the candy. You know, you want them to enjoy the candy, and then, hey, if there's something deeper, more, you know, something more profound, then hey, you got a little more than what you expected. But the fact that they would get on her ass about them straight washing the character, like, that's a little ridiculous. Now and then, but then I noticed in, I think, the second trailer, possibly it wasn't into the second or third trailer, you see him holding some guy's hand, like, ooh, like, that's edgy. Okay, that shows that he was into men. Like, you know, there has to be way deeper of a message when it comes to who you love, how you love, other than you just being lustful. Lou Reed from was it Velvet Underground? Like, he was notoriously bi, and he had relationships with guys, and obviously messed up his marriages because he had multiples of them. And then I think he was even with a trans person at the end of his life. Like, there's so much deeper stuff in the cut that, of course, it's good to, you know, to give a nod to. It's a, you know, good linear note to know. But you don't got to force it upon everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, just for example, I come from Latin descent, but you're not going to hear any cha-cha-cha or any salsa music. You know what I'm saying? Because not only is that not my demographic, but that's just not what I'm trying to push. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't always have to. And I guess that's where it comes down to either agenda or just something to get pissed off about. These people were so bored, they got mad that the dude was straight. Like, hey, if he's going to kiss some guys, lick some ass, take some shit for, you know, playing the role, because I'm pretty sure not everyone's gonna be happy with his portrayal. I'm geeked out, but even seeing him, like, dude, you look a little funny. You know what I'm saying? And me being such a Freddie Mercury fan, you can't fake that kind of fag. You know what I'm saying? He was boastful, he was bold, he was sexy, he was just everything in one. And he was such a burst of energy and power. People can't mimic that. No one can come close to doing that. Not even the most outlandish of gays can mimic that kind of pizzazz, because then it just seems cookie cutter, or it seems fake, or it seems pressed and put on. Like, you can't fake greatness. You know what I'm saying? You can bullshit yourself. Might be even to bullshit a couple people around you, but you can't bullshit boldness, or you really can't fake that kind of funk. I'm sorry. And again, it's just maybe me just being a Freddie fanboy, but you know what I'm saying? Not everyone can do that. So calm down. Let's wait till the movie comes out. Let's see what happens, and then you can get mad. But don't get mad all because the straight actor's playing them. You don't know how many dicks that guy sucked. Speaking of dicks, though, Sarah Silverman, who I love, probably one of my all-time favorite Jews, she stated that Louis C.K. had permission to masturbate in front of her, and he did it on multiple occasions. Now, I think she was on Howard Stern when she said this, and, she mentioned that it's not like she was always okay with it. Sometimes, in her early days, because I guess they kind of came up together, when you get horny, you get horny, and without saying so, she probably, slept with him. Probably sucked his, who knows, right? Who knows what she's done. That's not our business. But, whatever, he caught her at the right time once, and she went for it. I mean, that's kind of a sexy thing sometimes. Like, I love to see a girl masturbate. Like, that just lets me know, like, yeah, okay, get that going. Let me come in when you're ready. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking a sabbatical on the oral right now. Let me jump on in when you're ready. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get my hands dirty. Let me just jump on in. Whatever excuse. I mean, I don't know, what you're into and why you want to do certain things, but that can be sexy. I couldn't see a dude jerking off to be that, but again, it's because I'm a dude and I don't find that attractive. But again, at the same time, also kind of like bullshit. Let me see, right? And then he does it, and if something, maybe it's kind of like I don't know if you ever watched How I Met Your Mother, but there was like the naked man technique that they had devised, and saying that if you were to be butt ass naked, maybe 7 times out of 10, the chick will be with it because she figured, oh, you're bold? Okay, why not? Let's do this. There ain't nothing on TV, and let's go for it, right? And then sometimes, like, hey, man, what the F? Get out of here. Like, put your dick away. What the hell? We're to Netflix, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to do something else. But I laugh because then she also mentions there'll be times where she'll be like, no, that's gross. Put it away. Again, totally valid. Sometimes you're into it, sometimes you don't. That's the beauty of the naked man, Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And you got to know that when it doesn't, put that shit away. Which is why I laughed. And I don't know if you ever watched Girls. It was on HBO, but they had the season on DVD. Adam Driver, who, again, another one of my favorite Jews, he's in that show. And there's a scene where I think he had got done slaying the main character, Lena Dunham. And I don't know what it was. Maybe he wasn't done yet, so he started jerking off. And he's just jerking off because, I mean, if it's your sexual partner, can you really get mad that they're jerking off? Who the fuck are you gonna get mad? But she was like, why are you doing that? And then she found it sexy. And then she's like, he's like, all right, he's gonna keep going. He's gonna finish. So then what she does is she's trying to borrow money, and so then she called him out on it. Well, why are you doing that? I'm gonna take money for a taxi cab. He's like, oh, all right. And he's like, and then also for a pizza. He was like, oh, okay, whatever. So she's just milking him. But again, that's what else can you do? Either you walk the hell out of there because it's disgusting, or you rock with it. You can do one or the other. You don't need to be offended. But again, going back to what Sarah Silverman was talking about, she was in another situation where she was working at some Mexican restaurant. I feel better with a Mexican restaurant, but hey, you work where you got to work. And her manager, I guess, had popped off and proposed some kind of stuff like that where he started jerking off. And, of course, that was offensive to her because that was rape. That was like, holding her hostage because she's lower than him and he's higher than her, which I guess was her point as to the effect that Louis C.K. had on the women that had called him out on it because they were up and coming. They probably thought, oh, this famous guy, he's such a great person, he's looking out for us, we're having a moment, maybe I might sleep with him, maybe I might not. And then he takes the plunge and says, F it, let me steer this in the direction I want to steer it, and starts whacking off. That obviously put them in a tough spot, just how she was when she was a kid working at this restaurant. So again, there's sometimes where the occasion calls for it, and sometimes where it doesn't, and it's offensive, and you're holding your power over them. And again, power of the naked man. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And again, I was happy that I was able to hear her say that. I was glad that she, again, now not to come into the defense of this guy because I don't know him for shit. He looks like an asshole. He looks like a racist, but whatever. He's funny. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't knock people all the time. But again, I don't know. So I'm neither here nor there with him. But the fact that she was defending him and kind of putting it out there, hey, he's done it in front of me. I gave him permission. Like again. Sometimes you're with it, sometimes you're not. That's the beauty and the curse of the naked man. But speaking of possible sex offenders, though, because I want to switch it up a little bit and quit running in circles, just based on how little this girl looks in general, apparently friends and family were super excited and relieved to hear that Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson had called, the split. And I guess she hadn't really healed from like the death of Mac Miller, which I could understand. She left him, and then she's gonna get all this shit for leaving him, and then him taking that plunge, even though it might not have been on purpose. Just the fact that there's just so much guilt that comes from that. And I know, and I feel real embarrassed to say this, but in a lot of my relationships, I kind of slid out, not in a ghosted sort of way, but I kind of found, without being the bad guy, without having to dump someone, I kind of turned up the volume on my asshole technique, and kind of made it to where, hey, look, they split, they left, okay, whatever. Still, I feel like I kept still good relationships with most of my exes, but there's again a little bit of guilt that I had done some dirt. And I know with just any time that I've done things and not given my full heart, or didn't invest myself as deep as they might have invested themselves, like I do feel guilt from that, especially and I was gonna talk about this later on, but I'm gonna say this. Hopefully I can come back to the stop, but it is messed up when someone takes a dark route after a relationship you might have had, because then you feel like you're at guilt, even though you didn't push them to take that route. You might have influenced. You might have led them with nowhere else to go, and unfortunately they took the road of the hoe, which again, treading back to the theme of the episode, hoe was for Halloween. But I cracked up a little bit because her manager, or her on and off again manager, Scooter Braun, who I really dig just for the sheer fact that he came up in the Atlanta scene, being a white boy in college, partying it up, to then, getting under Jermaine Dupri, getting tied with Lil Jon, and, going up the ranks eventually, getting tied with Justin Bieber, signing him over, getting that co-stamp for whatever from Ursha, and then, so on and so forth, and all the little journeys that he's taken. Anyways, again, he had managed Ariana Grande for a little bit, and he had mentioned an article about getting fired or having to, deal with, a lot of shit every time she's dealing or dating with a shitty boyfriend. And it was made references about, like, maybe not 6 years ago, but so many years ago, where she was in between Big Sean and then Mac Miller, so I can't tell who the shitty boyfriend was. So again, it's definitely timeline wise is between Big Sean and Mac Miller, and then that's when she lost her shit, got him fired, and then he tried to keep it cool, keep it copacetic, knowing that she's probably just going through an episode. No offense to my lady listeners out there, but we all have our times, and she might have just been having the time, and so he stuck it out. She eventually came back. She ended up shitting on him again when they were supposed to do a benefit concert for the people that had died in the Manchester thing. So again, all these things. So then for him to make this reference, after the Pete Davidson split, I'm thinking to myself, well, he definitely must have been one of the shitty boyfriends. And obviously, into drugs in itself, which again, I don't think marijuana is such a bad thing, but I'm pretty sure he gets beyond medicated, which, I can't front, been there, done that. That doesn't necessarily make you the sharpest tool in the shed. And again, being in shitty relationships, it makes you do dumb things. And sometimes you're not really able to fully think for yourself. And again, being so young and being such a, come on now, she's a sex symbol, whether or not we want to admit it, because she looks like a little girl, which is why I kind of threw the segue of sex offender whatnots, because, I saw her pictures with, I forget who I saw, I think it was with Pete Davidson. And him being so tall and lanky, her just looking like a little girl, like she definitely fits like a niche, or maybe it's not that niche because there's so many goddamn pedals out there, but she definitely fits a market that all the sick bastards want to gravitate towards. But that's neither here nor there. But speaking of shitty boyfriends and again possible sexual offenders, there was a secret recording provided by a former friend of former living rapper Triple Extension, confessing not only to sexual abuse but to stabbings. And it tripped me out. Again, y'all can check out the article. I forget if it was on XXL, if it was on Vulture. I have one of those links on here. And he was just talking about, because y'all remember, if y'all kept up when he was alive or when he was up and coming, about how he threatened his baby mom with, shanking her cooch with a knife, and how that's how he was gonna like abort the baby, and all this graphic stuff. I'm like, this is a sick bastard. This is one sick puppy. And apparently he was already like being held for like 3 stabbings, and he's like, nigga, it wasn't 3, it was 9. So like he was really incriminating himself, and who knows who this homie is that leaked this information. But so he got paid some, and I'm pretty sure that was because he figured, oh well, homie's dead, so why am I going milk? This is my last resort. And again, not that it matters now because dude's dead. But I started cracking up. Arizona Verse had sent me, I don't know if he sent me the meme or if he just texted to me, but apparently Black Twitter was lit because his baby mama was talking about, or showing pictures of the baby kicking, and with his domestic, his domestic violence situation. They're saying, man, the baby's already kicking the mama. Like that was such a SMH moment because obviously babies kick, but the fact that he's hitting the moms, like father like son. I'm just saying. All right, but other Fs who aren't virgins to battery and all types of ill shit. Tekashi 6ix9ine, who had been arrested and was supposed to get jail time, got let go with just 4 years of probation. Well, technically 3 because apparently he got 1 year credited by the judge, which I'm wondering what kind of, dicks did the lawyers suck to get this kind of thing. But what tripped me out was that Tekashi 6ix9ine, he was in there for some child sex case. Now, I'm thinking to myself, well, shit, what nigga from the hood, didn't pull a train on some little girl? And then as soon as I thought that, unfortunately, I read that he was seen on a video where he was 18 years old, and he was slapping some chick's ass who was apparently naked, doing some kind of sexual acts. I'm assuming it was head because, unless they were fucking, I don't exactly know what he was doing there. But yeah, he was smacking her ass, and mind you, she was only 13 years old. And you might think to yourself, well, what about the other dudes? And I'm pretty sure he didn't snitch, and that's probably what's kept his cred going this far. They hit him with that fine, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, see, this is where it's gonna be really tough for those kids that are growing up nowadays doing all the shenanigans. Y'all document everything. Just like I'm pretty sure I've said some hella incriminating stuff, even though I'm just trying to be funny. I'm just playing a character on the show. There's so much that we put out there, like, to not think about the repercussions of that stuff, and again, maybe just not knowing, and at the same time, and it's crazy why every time I hear like a gang rape or some little girl getting tossed around in some kind of gang bang, it's always like out on the East Coast. Like, what is it about Harlem and Brooklyn that produces these type of hoes? And forgive me, for my listeners that are out there, I'm not saying that it's all of y'all. There's a select few. You should watch a movie with Robert Pattinson called Good Time. Similar situation, some raunchiness. I don't know if it's just the East Coast thing. I don't know if it's just because sometimes you can't tell the ages of some people, but sometimes you can. And then that's where I really get distracted with most paisas and, illegals. Where I'm like, I don't mind Trump kicking you the F out of here because y'all niggas disgusting and y'all give us a bad name and whatever, things happen. I'm not trying to make it into a discussion about that. But the fact that, he got hit with that and then got hit with given such a favorable plea, like, it tripped me out because they requested for probation. So obviously, instead of wanting to lose all his heat and all his velocity in the game, they figured, well, if we can just give him more probation, we can still have him create, we can still make him do appearances, we can still have all these workarounds. We just can't do nothing with him if he's locked up. See you later, Bobby Shmurda. So like, it's just a trip. And I almost wanted to throw the book at him, even though he's a fellow Latino and he's in the game and he's doing it. At the same time, I don't like what he represents. I don't like the ulterior, ego. And then his real name, Daniel Hernandez, which is S.P.i.C, he had, gave this speech to the judge saying that he's, this is the thing that made me want to slap him in the face. He talked about how he's, a leader for the kids. The kids look up to him, which is true, unfortunately. And he's like, I can't go to jail. I can't have my journey end there. I got to do more for the fans. I'm thinking to myself, you ignorant bastard, like, you are the epitome of ignorance at this current generational time, and the best thing that people could see is you getting hit with justice so that they know not to follow in that same suit. But because you're getting away with it, you're gonna make every other ignorant prick think that they can do that too. So I thought that was, I think that was a lost effort by the judge in order to get justice. And mind you, is he guilty for being, not knowing? See, who knows whether he knew or not? That part we can't prove unless we can trace some kind of text messages to whatever sort of trap phone that he would have had, trying to lure the hoe there. The hoe's going to do what the hoe's going to do, and who knows if they're pulling a train on her, who knows what. Again, the video captured what they captured. They're able to pinpoint him. He got the hammer drop, but at the same time, not really. And that's only going to encourage more folks to be more smart about these sort of things. And who knows what kind of shenanigans that, they're going to cause. Like, it's heartbreaking, to be honest with you. Like, it is. I guess moving on over to the hoe-like tendencies. Miss Katy Perry, one of my favorite details on earth, she posed in front of a shirtless Justin Bieber poster, and her current boothing boyfriend, Orlando Bloom, kind of doing a callback to the pirate stuff that I talked about earlier, commented on one of her pictures. I don't know if she posted a bunch of them. I don't know if it was just on one. I'm not too sure if he was in his feelings or they're just trying to be cutesy, but he commented on there, thirsty. Now, mind you, it got me to thinking a little bit, because obviously as a boyfriend, he's seen her again, do all these, alluring, seductive photos in front of one of her peers, who I'm sure if she hasn't caught dick by now, she could at any freaking time. You might think it's harmless, they're just being cute. But it got me thinking about selfies, though. And it got me thinking about just how not only narcissistic selfies are, because I can't front. When I was in my hoe days, when I was in my really feeling myself days, I took selfies left and right, trying to show off my neck muscles, trying to, show how I lost my belly because I went from over 400 down to 2. Like, I was, I really felt myself. And that's probably where I did my most damage once, I moved from fat fraud to, BS and wannabe Greek. And I did a lot of, had a lot of hoe activities that, again, I feel bad about, and I wish I would have done differently. And I wish I would have maintained my sexiness. But besides all that, like, it makes me think, like, okay, obviously narcissistic, obviously look at me. And then I was on Snapchat or IG, and people that I've been following or knew back in high school over freaking 10 years ago, and I'm just looking at some of these pictures, and I'm thinking to myself, like, girl, you still doing the same old pose, you still out there every other Wednesday or every 2 days at some bar, at some club, at some whatever, where dressing hella scandalous, which, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't argue if it was in front of me and I could see some booty cheeks. I mean, how can I be mad? But again, looking from the outside in, it's sad. It's super sad. And then on top of that, a former lover of mine, who she pops up every now and again, and I try not to engage just because, whatever, she's in another state, as well as, me being in my situation, I don't mess with it. But I'm looking at, because she adds me again after I unfollowed her or blocked her or whatever, and whatever, she adds me again, and so I'm curious because she's going by a different name. I'm thinking, is this her? So anyways, I click on it, and of course her story or her whatever past 24 hours worth of BS is like literally her giving out her location, like her pinpoint location. You could find me here, which is, if not to say that's begging for rape, and I know that sounds terribly inconsiderate and victim shaming, but like, why wouldn't you be smart about hiding where you live? You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you're pin dropping, I don't know, or tagging you being at a store or a location or some kind of national monument, whatever, that makes sense. But where you live, that's dangerous. And then she's like in super provocative material and just all this thirsty sort of stuff. And I wasn't too sure if she was doing that to fish and get a rise out of me. Wife says that, saying that she was trying to, bait me, and to show, look what I'm doing, look how I'm living. But at the same time, like, I don't know if it's me getting back into obesity, not wanting to do selfies. I'm not too sure if it's me being mature after having a kid. I don't know what it is that flipped in my mind, or when I look at that stuff now, after being intrigued by whatever sort of lustful sort of desires that that captivated me, I'm looking at it like that's sad. Like, how is that cute? Not even because the girl got bigger and, had all sorts of cottage cheese hanging out. Like, it's not even about that, because that's sexy to a lot of folks. Brothers, I'm talking to y'all. So y'all shouldn't be discouraged. And again, everyone is beautiful. And she definitely had a real loving heart. And I remember getting in trouble because I didn't know I had love notes of hers that she would write me. And I maybe I don't remember reading them, or maybe I couldn't bear to think that someone, had cared for me so much. And I think that's where broke a lot of hearts. Not to gloat, but that's, I did a lot of damage because I wasn't considerate of how people felt about me, and I kind of did what I wanted and got what I wanted, and kept it moving. And even though that's in every effing song that you hear now on the radio, like, that's terrible, and that just creates more damage, and that just creates more endless loops of hurt that then they're gonna have to spiral and maybe get out of control and hurt others, and it creates a domino effect. And again, just thinking back to just seeing people, and again, when I see the selfies and when I see how obviously overtly they're trying to be sexy, or they're pretty much promoting pussy. You know what I'm saying? For lack of a better word. Because either dude is flexing, trying to show that he has a bag, which is going to lure whatever kind of materialistic bitch. Or a girl, again, who's going to show off her body, knowing that's probably the most interesting thing about her. And then get upset when someone doesn't see her more than a sex toy. Like, understand how we're promoting ourselves, what we're doing, and also, see, that's so tough because that's just the generation we live in. We see hoes, 40, 50, 60s, who knows? There's no cap limit to hoisms and how long it takes for us to shake, or how long it takes for the disease to trickle in to bring us down to reality. Whatever the cause or effect may be, there's no age limit to it, okay? Let's just throw that out there. Literally, even though R. Kelly used an excuse to F with Aaliyah when she was underage, age really ain't nothing but a number, and F-boy stuff is going to happen regardless, and we're going to be full of ourselves no matter who we are, what we're into, where we are in our lives. It's one at one time or another, it's going to take you over. But the only sad part is when you don't see people grow out of it. Now, mind you, I'm in my 30s, so these hoes have about maybe 10 years to hopefully shake that off before the middle age, and maybe it's too terribly sad. But at the same time, just looking at them, even me being my age, I wouldn't respect my partner if she was taking those kind of pictures. She always throws shit in my face saying, oh, well, maybe I should do all the host stuff that your exes would do because, of course she follows them. She makes me block them, but she follows them so she can keep tabs or whatever. I don't know why you women do that. But just to look, I guess, at what I had in the past, even though I don't. And then, throws it in my face about the scandalous women that I was with. And, of course, throws it in my face, oh, maybe I should do this sort of scandalousness. I'm like, look, if you do that kind of scandalous shit, you're going to be just where my exes are, behind me. Because I don't like that stuff. I don't approve of that stuff. And I've matured since I dealt with that stuff. So, again, this girl who shall remain nameless, her sending all this stuff, or not sending it to me, but putting it out there, whether she intended to make me jealous, whether maybe she just wanted to, to recap, and I'm just, I'm all in my feelings upset at the route she's taken, but I wasn't intrigued by it. That didn't make me think, oh, I want to move where you're at, or I can't wait to blow you up so I can catch a freaking disease. Like, no, it just made me feel bad that she took the route that she took. And then it also made me look at the people that are around me, or people that are in my social media network, and makes me wonder to myself, like, what are you missing that you're still out there showing your ass? Mind you, if I had an ass in front of me, it'd be hard not to look. It'd be hard not to want to slap it if they're saying, hey, here you go, take a whack. Very difficult. That's a different subject. It's about how sad it is, and really how disgusting it could be, the fact that there hasn't been a change. Again, it could be just a hard string of luck, as far as why you haven't found the one. It's difficult to find the one. You might never actually find the one. You might settle, and that's it. So again, there's not arguing that part and how difficult that could be. But at the same time, is kind of like what Einstein said, the true something of madness, or something, the most retarded thing you could possibly do is to do the exact same thing and expect different results. So again, why? And I'm thinking of one girl specifically. I don't want to do her bad because I can't call her a hoax. I think once another girl, she was super pretty, definitely one of those that just putting herself out there way too damn much. And I think one time I lured her to my place. I think we might have made out, dry hump. She wasn't with giving it up right away, which I'm glad to know that she's not like that. Or maybe I just didn't possess the power to seal the deal. But I'm still seeing her do the same old thing, just over and over again. I'm thinking to myself, woman, how many pictures of the same damn angles, and obviously you take so many selfies, your wardrobe is about to repeat itself, wearing the same old things at the same old place. Maybe it's a different place, but whether you take a shit here or at the office or at home, what I'm saying? Like, regardless, you're still taking a shit. So how it's any different is really just, I don't know. Maybe I'm too deep into it. I don't want to get too lost in the sauce of it, but it really made me think think deeply about just how just sad it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too old. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a youngin's game. Even though some of those hoes are still my age doing the same old traveling. I don't know what it was, but it really made me take an introspective look, and it made me, I guess, fortunate that that I don't have to deal with. I mean, who knows? Lord forbid my wife's taking selfies and sending them out to other niggas. Like that's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to get lost in that kind of sauce right there. But as far as what I see, what's around, what I'm dealing with, I don't have to worry about seeing all these thirst monsters be all up in the comments section. You know what I'm saying? All because this person needs so much validation that they're putting the hoisms out there for display. Now, again, sometimes we need a little pick-me-up, sometimes we need a boost, and sometimes, especially for recluses and we only live out in social media, look, you do what you gotta do. I'm not knocking it against it. It's just that when I see the same old person doing the same old thing, and there should be past the point where maybe they should settle down, or maybe they shouldn't be about that life. But then again, look, all this can be discouraged with just saying, hey, I'm living my life, I'm enjoying my life, then good for you. Anything that I'm saying now is it could just sound like hater talk to you. But if you feel how I feel, then I don't know. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully I'm not just ranting and raving, and maybe you see yourself you look at yourself in the mirror and see how 10 years have aged and passed, and you don't like where you're going. Hopefully that could be just a little reminder. Yo, cut that out, yo. Seriously, you're beautiful. You don't need to show your ass to prove that you're beautiful. And surely, if you're showing your ass to get people to tell you you're beautiful, that shit's gonna fade real quick. I'm telling you, it's gonna fade. It's gonna fade like a literal fade of this next person I want to talk about. So I guess speaking of, because this all started from Katy Perry being super thirsty. So speaking of chicks who kissed girls and liked it, famously bald-headed and synonymously up there with any dyke you could think of, and of course I know she's been known to catch dick or two, because I think she's had kids before, because I remember hearing about a custody battle that she was having. But Miss Sinead O'Connor, which I'm sure y'all can remember, and I'm not too sure if it was pop music, indie, grunge, I can't recall what her genre was. I didn't bother trying to look back into her music. I just know she was an artist. Sinead O'Connor on Twitter had revealed that she was converting to Islam, which I always love when I hear women converting to Islam, not only for the sheer fact that I feel like the hijabs are sexy and that I feel like the mystery is sexy, but also just the strictness that you really have to put yourself through in order to, to pray 5 times a day and to hopefully be a dedicated, Islam woman who is all about her husband and, being the head and respecting the hierarchy, which is crazy. The fact that, again, she's been so synonymous with being a lesbian, and the fact that she's going to go into a heavily misogynistic religion is kind of a whoa. But again, she's always been against the grain. Mind you, she came from Ireland, so when and I don't know how long the Catholic Church has been dealing with sex abuse cases, but I know she went hard on Catholic priests in her day, to where I know she had claimed to be atheist and all this other stuff. So it really tripped me out to see that. And then she even changed her name to Shahada David, which I think David was already her last name, but I'm not too sure. Again, y'all can look her up, but the fact that she had made that bold claim, there's something about that where I'm just like, I respect it so much, and at the same time I just feel like it's backwards for her, at least in the movement that she's been in. But she's been through some shit, you know what I'm saying, from divorce to fighting for custody for kids, and then again being, for whatever reason, the face for lesbians, whether because she had a bald head or because she was so anti-establishment. It's so weird, the journey that she's taken. But again, she's found some sort of peace in this, and she went to the point where she's talking about how all other religious doctrine become obsolete, and that's one of the main religious views when it comes to those who are of Islam, because they say that in order to be a good Muslim, you have to be a better Christian, because again, there's an evolutionary steps to these. Just so from all the things that Jesus did, Muhammad then took the bridge and and started escalating and started defining, and some say making excuse and trying to cover up loopholes, but whatever. I mean, the fact that she's made that claim pretty late in her years trips me out. I'm wondering what kind of influence she still has around the single white female demographic, and how many others are going to jump that boat. And I don't know how much of it is to be anti-Trump, him being against women, him being against Muslims, her knocking two out with one stone. Hey, that's her journey, and I'm mad curious to see where that goes. I'm really hoping that she found peace in it, because that's the whole point of it. The whole point, again, not only to to be in love with the universe, or to be of love, and to be that light, to be that illuminatingness, is just to to be at peace. And it's when you have so many demons in you, that's probably the thing that's worth the most, is that peace. And possibly unrelated news, Clueless is going to be remade for the Generation Z, or Gen Z. And I love the original Clueless so much, not only because I loved not Christina Applegate. I'm hard to forget her name. Jesus, have mercy. Yes, her, and she. Just the whole thing, the whole scene in general. It was a thing. You know what I'm saying? It was one of the first like chick flicks that like got me and really sucked me in. And to me, like, there's great coming of age movies in that nature, like Mean Girls and stuff like that. And the thing, I guess, what might really push this movie forward, or I guess what's kind of done smart, is that it's being produced by Tracy Oliver, who wrote Girls Trip, which I think was in production for I don't know how many years, but finally, the ghetto-ness of what's her name, Hardish, really, Tiffany Hardish, really pushed things through. So whether or not we might see her make an appearance to represent the black community, I don't know. But it was written by, who was it? And then it's also being worked on by Marquita Robinson, who worked on Netflix's Glow, which I get, was a really dope show for the ladies. I mean, really, guys in general who doesn't want to see, chicks, dressing around some spandex and beating the hell out of each other in superly sexually erotic positions. So again, we'll see how that goes in this world of reboots. I mean, you're gonna definitely have your haters. Who knows if they'll have any cameos from the original cast? Definitely excited about it. We'll see how long it takes to actually, get done. Again, it's been greenlit. But I mean, it's such a seller and such a cult classic. I can truly say that, who knows if they can go wrong with it. I mean, there's a lot of ways that they can go wrong, but people are gonna eat it up. We live in just a culture where it's no use in being creative and making anything new, but just blowing the dust off some other stuff that hopefully can make a couple more dollars. That's entertainment news, y'all.
And look for instruments to fix. But my favorite part of space is when we suck each other's dicks. Spinning round in circles, and it feels very nice. When we kiss each other's penis tips, seems like paradise. Traveling in light speed, it's an intergalactic ride. But we used to have a monkey, remember? But I fucked it till it died. Yes, we're in zero gravity, just spinning round and round. The next thing you know, I'm right side up, I am upside down. He accidentally puts his penis in my mouth, and he puts his penis in mine. Yes, it's just another accident. It's just another thing that on purpose I did. It's just another afternoon on Station 69.
Alrighty, so if y'all still sticking with me and that crazy rendition of Station 69, that lets you know it's time for some science insight. I guess as far as I can possibly reiterate to you in a proper New York Times fashion. But what tripped me out really quickly, because I want to go into space, as the previous song would have suggested. But Dr. Stephen Hawking, who I know I shit on last week just because of his, Ain't No God references, he popped up with his final, I guess, report. I don't know if it was a book report. I don't know exactly what it was. But what was crazy, that not only did he die on Einstein's birthday or death day, and then again, both men of science, his final paper, which came out about black holes, sprouted up out of nowhere which again is what black holes are known to do. So again, let not the irony be lost in that ascent. But his final paper was actually talking about how to escape a black hole, and I mean they're saying that not even light can do that. So again, I definitely didn't understand this damn paper on what it meant, or if it ever got down to the brass tacks of things. Again, you can find a link. Matter of fact, don't even trust my links, yo. Do your Googles, look up his final report. Again, it didn't make no sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to y'all. Then y'all can at me at SoulPapo on every social media and explain it to my retarded self. And forgive me for using that word. I know it's not very PC driven. But I had a little bit of a smoke break in between this audio clip, and yo, it hit me real hard. So hopefully I don't sound mush mouth and too ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculousness, they're saying that Mars might have enough oxygen underway in the surface for actual life. So people are, wondering like, how long has that been for? Because I guess they also have still waters, and whether or not that, you can look at us either being so far behind the technology spectrum that maybe there's some kind of like camouflage force field that doesn't allow us to see proper things. I'm just curious as to, because they admit in this article, again, you can look up, and I'm pretty sure y'all said it if y'all look at Google News at all, about them finding or them claiming that there's oxygen because of the waters, and because it was originally ice and it's melting. I'm just curious as to whether or not we just now have the technology to view these sorts of things, or they're just coming up and this planet is evolving, within our eyes. Like, if you think about it, the world, as old as it is, isn't that old. Or as far as, the generation that we had from civilizations that are able to track and record these sorts of things. So we're truly, even though things light years away can be far more advanced, as far as our solar system, as far as the things that are around us, we're watching as all these things are creating itself and evolving. And hell, who knows if one day Mars will be inhabitable. I mean, we're claiming that it will be. There are plans on it for 2020. I mean, the future's right ahead of us. But now we're seeing that maybe we're not going to need this biodome sort of thing, and that we can actually survive. Because they're saying that small animals, or no, the way that this article phrased it, which is crazy, and again, y'all can do your Googles, do your confirmations, and I'm not talking about the Catholicism, is that they're saying that simple animals can live regularly. Which I'm wondering, do more advanced animals or mammals take up more air? Like, because I'm talking to you now, do I create that much CO2 that I'll be effing it up for everyone else? Like, I'm not too exactly sure how that could be reiterated, but my favorite publication, Fox and Friends, they of course threw their hat in the ring when it came to their reiterations and the lakes, and how there's a lot of salt water, which again is what I guess creates the supply, the small supply of air for simple animals, and whatever the hell that means. But I'm just curious as to how that can create oxygen, or how it could take it up, and what maybe small missions like planting trees can possibly do. I mean, if there's water, they can water it. So I mean, if there's water, then there could be life. So again, and who knows what the liquid is that is frozen. I mean, again, I don't know. I'm just mad excited. I know we've done a lot of tests. ASU sent the rover out there, and that's what is collecting all this sort of information, bringing it back. But I don't know. I guess on another possibly positive tip, there's a common weed that's been figured out to be unexpectedly producing the same chemical, or chemical most identical to cannabis's THC. And that kind of geeked me out, because there's mad weeds up in the yard that I've been reluctant to cut down, even though I should be doing that as soon as I'm done with the show. Maybe once I'm compressing it, who knows. But let me read you this article. Again, this is by Quartz publication, and it says that liverwort, 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 that it isn't much to look at. Saying this low to the ground plant species creep along unobtrusively. Oh, am I reading that right? Enough, spanning that they're hand-like fronds over rocks and logs alike. It says, but there's a secret side of these mousy weeds, and apparently in a publication yesterday from the Science Advances, and this, I guess, was published October 24th, researchers revealed that certain members of the Radula genus of liverwort, which I guess there's about 9,000 different species of it, The radula comprises some 200 to 300 species, and apparently this shit is what contains a chemical compounded by that relieves pain, much like the tetrahydrocannabinol, again THC, found in the beautiful acts of marijuana. But they're saying that unlike THC, however, the perotiniatine, forgive my public school reading, as the compound is known for, doesn't give you the psychedelic high. So that's making me wonder, if it's giving you the CBD effect, that's the next best thing. Again, not for getting messed up, but again for healing shit. But apparently saying that it has a molecular structure similar to THC, I guess, which both enables both compounds to easily attach to the brain's cannabinoid receptors. And it says once they're there, that's when the compounds stem the flood of pain signals to the brain, and they dampen their effects, providing relief from the pain and inflammation, which is, again, is a big deal. So I'm not saying go ahead and cut your front lawn, save the clippings, and try to smoke it, because I'm not too sure if it's that easy. But definitely do your Googles and see what you can possibly find out. Again, I remember being younger, rolling up some like pine tree things, and of course there's no reason for that to get me high than give me a headache from the freaking whatever I used as wrapping paper. I think it might have been bubblegum paper. Who knows? And we were so ridiculous as kids. Again, do your Googles, see what can be done on that tip. But I'm done with the science stuff, because you see how bad I butchered that. I'm too afraid and ashamed to try to read you more of that sort of stuff. But I did want to show you a real crazy story that I saw, and this is from WBUR.org, and it's talking about keeping your brain sharp. And apparently the key tip to that would be to take care of your eyes and your ears. It says by the age of 40, about 1 in 10 adults will experience some kind of hearing loss, and that it happens so slowly and so gradually that audiologists like Dina Rollins had claimed, and she's quoted saying that you don't realize what you're missing. And even as it worsens, many people, of course, are in denial. You get indeed more, you start getting defensive, and you start denying. It says, but by the time that someone is convinced that they're having hearing problems, age-related memory loss may have already set in. But they're saying that there's good news, because restoring hearing with hearing aids can actually help you slow down cognitive decline. Which again is a big deal, because they all kind of form like it's all a domino effect, kind of coming full circle to the show. So it says that considering that researchers have tracked about 2,000 older adults in the U.S., both before and after they started using hearing aids, the adults who were participating in a big national study found that the rate of cognitive decline was slowed by 75%. Following the adoption of hearing aids. So again, they're able to figure out that regardless of it being a surprising result, that again it is all interconnected, all is relevant. And again, you can do more readings on this sorts of stuff by either doing your Googles or checking out the links below. So please peep it out. Another thing that's real important in health that, again, I mentioned before, being all the polio-like thing that seems like regular ass flu. Well, they're saying that the 8th child had died from this quote-unquote viral outbreak at a New Jersey rehab center. Now, the coldest part about this is that they're saying that they couldn't pinpoint what exactly was the cause, but the only connection is that it's landed on what's associated with communal living arrangements. So that either sounds like they're talking about the ghettos, like of the projects, or again, having low-income people in these rehab facilities, crack babies, spreading, swap, and spit, who knows what, but that it's communal arrangements. That just sounds like saying ghetto people that live amongst each other. And whether or not it's connected or super far stretched to what these combinations of tests and trials and errors have created, the FDA actually just approved their very first new flu treatment that's been nearly 20 years. So the last time that we had any kind of flu treatment was 20 years ago. But they're also saying that 80,000 people died from influenza, and more than 900,000 they're affected by this. And I don't know what I was writing in my notes, because I was trying to do a synopsis of each of these articles. But there's the new drug is called Genentech's Zofluza, and it's by Baluzavir Moroboxyl. I'm butchering this stuff and whatever it's called, but it's a unit of Roche or Roche, ROCHE, which produces things like Tamiflu and other commonly used flu treatments. And again, they have a new thing that they're saying is not going to take away from getting a flu shot, but it's like going to be like the next best thing. So again, of course, if you double up on stuff, then maybe you might be able to skip it. But I don't know how that happens with each strain, because there's always a different strain that comes in. And what always trips me out is that these things expire. So whether it's a certain chemical that no longer is good, or maybe again they're trying to keep track of what strains are used and where the shit spreads, it really kind of like on a conspiracy note, because I got to give you that to you. It almost makes me wonder, like they try to keep contain each little thing, so they want to see how it evolves or how people adapt to it, so they keep it in confined places. And I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the way they trapping us. I can't really tell. But one of the things that they're saying, a possible way to earn more revenue, or possibly in a way to inflict more people not in the know, again, whichever conspiracy that you might subscribe to, but they're showing, again, just trying to, with all these little studies and stuff, but they're also trying to say that people who eat organic food are 25% less likely to develop cancer. Which again, it could just be the fact that people are then having a healthier living because they're taking that organic route, that that they're lasting a little bit longer. But I hate to see how all these things kind of interconnect, and I know it doesn't seem like I'm kind of jumbling everywhere. But again, from them figuring out new drug treatments to seeing how that intersects with us then trying to move us towards something that's more expensive, but also more, we call it organic, but really it's just us creating other man-made ways to try to work around. Look, there's so many different ways to create things, to manipulate things, all that stuff. And again, who knows how great our science is going to be, and I have a lot of belief that it's going to create miracles and we're going to replicate Jesus. There's a lot of dope stuff that comes with the technology and how it advances. But again, when we're trying to manipulate things that are natural, we still need to use some kind of fake compound to manipulate, to copy, to mimic, not be the original thing. So who knows how our bodies are going to be able to deal with that? Because again, as we evolve, we're kind of, not to say becoming weaker, because we're getting smarter. Who knows how far intelligence was before? But I mean, now that we have the resource to be capable of more and more, our bodies then, I guess, are really losing the element of what it takes maybe to survive, let's say, in wilderness, or we have our hunters, we have all this stuff, so I can't really comment that way. How would it make sense? We adapt to how we live, so as the easier we make things, we lose a little bit of our animal instinct, so to speak, besides our cattiness and our bastardness that's forever, unfortunately, always passed on. But speaking of past, let me just switch it on up, because again, y'all can do your Googles. Just know what you put in your body, because sometimes it might take over you. You might, again, get lost in that sauce and not be able to, swim your way out. You drown. And this happened actually to a chick who, let me see if I can, this happened in Philly, or not Philly, but somewhere in Pennsylvania. Anyways, the county out there, they're going to pay nearly $5 million to a family of a teenager who collapsed and died after 4 days of heroin withdrawals in jail. Now, the family's lawyer had ignored or had lied about, a certain situation. So there's a lot of, loose ends that I guess can get lost in it. And she was a cute little emo chick, man. I always get a surprise and happy when I see girls do, the wingtip techniques. And, you can tell the bigger the wing goes, the deeper they are in the crack. At least that's how it was for my girl Amy Winehouse. Now, again, because she's underage, they don't really release her name and how all that stuff popped in about, but it's a heavy thing. You have to be weaned off. Same thing with alcohol. You think that's what's so terrible too, is the fact that it's legal, and prohibition, of course, helped out with that. But if you can get so addicted to it that literally you need to be given small doses, or else full body parts will just give out. And that was unfortunately the thing with this girl. And I mean, you can say, oh, the bright side of the family is getting $5 million, and she was nothing but a pain in the ass, so they're getting something for the loss. But again, who knows what she could have done? Who knows what she could have became? And who knows if they didn't believe that she was on that heroin? Because again, pills and all that stuff, it's all the same thing. Opioids ain't nothing of up with. And that's I think the scariest part, because we don't know what we're putting in our bodies. We just know we're getting messed up. We just know that we're chilling, and all that creates stuff. And so it's kind of like how, like a kid who can't communicate, and you're getting mad because all they're doing is making sounds or pointing to shit, and you're getting frustrated, and you just choose to ignore them. You don't know what kind of damage can be done, and it's just a trip. I mean, again, and it all goes into what we put into our bodies, and we do it every day. You know, from a little smoke to what we're eating, and then of course that creates and it freaking forces our lifestyle into something that that we can't alter at a certain point, and it could be too late for. And obviously, every moment that we have to breathe, we have a moment to do something about it. But again, you just don't know, and I think that's one of the saddest parts. They didn't know, and she lost her life over it. Now, I want to move on over to an article that I found in InStyle, and it's a bit of a mixed bag, both because it seems almost inspirational at first, but then it correlates so much to hoisms of episode 62, Ho is for Halloween. And I'm going to go into the story, and it already sounds bad and misogynistic as I'm introducing it. But shouts out to Kelly Iverson. I'm not too sure if that's her name. She's a cute little redheaded güerita that's very proud about showing her underboob now after going through a lot of traumatic stress. And I'll get into stress after the story. But she talks about how she had her breast removed at 25 and how it complicated sex for her. Now, apparently, and I'm going to read you the story, she says that she had tested positive for BRCA1. It's a genetic mutation, and one of the things about this lifetime risk of getting breast cancer, or hikes it up a little bit to getting breast cancer at about 87%. And this past January, breast cancer had, viciously robbed her aunt, both her breasts and nipples, and then her father's mother, and how she had died in her 40s, from the disease. So again, at 25, she decided to get a bilateral prophylactic mastectomy. And this is a preventative surgery that would decrease the risk of cancer. Now, she says that it would also leave her without having natural breasts, and I guess her ability to be able to feel so much as well. But she still made the decision to do it. And before she wanted to find someone to fondle her titties one last time. Now, I'm going to read you the story as she wrote it. Again, you can either do your Googles to find it, or again, look at the description or notes below. I'm going to go and read you the story because it's a classic case of hoisms, but it's also inspiring. So know that, you can embrace the goddess and hoe in you, okay? It says, have you ever swiped right on Tinder with the intentions of finding someone to simply fondle your breasts? Well, that's exactly where I found myself a few weeks ago before my surgery, and hoping to encounter a man who would share the joy of my natural lady lumps with me one final time. She goes, I swiped through face after face trying to imagine who can get the job done, and understand that I had zero intentions on dating. Guy after guy flashed onto my screen, some with their arms around a few friends, some holding dead animal carcasses, and some topless in front of a full-length mirror. It says, eventually I found a nice pharmacist, and I explained the situation to him and what I was wanting. He was on board. No freaking shit. Of course a man's going to want to play with titties one last time with that intention of just playing with titties and not having to deal with you again. So she goes on to say, we met at a restaurant, but since my intentions were so clear, we skipped out on dessert and headed straight to his place. That's a man's dream. Anyway, she goes, I realized in this final act, more than ever, or I guess more than he'll ever know, I etched the feeling of every last caress into my memory, all while hoping my partner for the night wouldn't realize my eyes were filled with tears. He was probably into that date rape shit, so that probably didn't bug him at all. Anyway, she goes on to say, eventually I was able to compose myself, but the experience made me realize something. My confidence sat somewhere between my neck and my abdomen, and I'd never really acknowledged it. While I'd taken issue with other body parts, my breasts were the one thing I always truly cherished, and soon they would be gone. Now that is sad. Now, the morning of July 6, 2008 was the final time my real breast and I were ever together. The surgery took about 6 hours, and what I was left with were silicone implants, and my own nipples, thankfully, and scars, and my breasts now felt like foreign objects. They're definitely inanimate now, and I was unsure about them in every aspect. I couldn't touch them without getting goosebumps or feeling uneasy. The silicone implants didn't bounce or sway naturally. Now that part is terrible. I don't like it. Now it felt as though some had even been attached to my body that didn't belong, and it took the place of two things that I thought made me beautiful, and I only saw the unsightly crevices on my breast where the implants was visible through my thin skin that rose and fell like a dramatic pitch change. I saw how dry my nipples were from the lack of adequate blood circulation, and I saw the tiny outside corner of an otherwise long, crooked, and pink scar that hung my underboob. And I love underboob. That's just me talking. She goes on to say, and again, she's a very sexy bride. Y'all will see if you click on it. Like, that's where it kind of seems like it's BS. Like, come on now, you lost two titties, which I know is sad, and I know they're a part of you, and I know the loss of feeling has to suck, but you got two great C-cup tits. I don't know whether you had that or not. But anyways, go back to the story. She goes, I was uncomfortable while naked and alone, and I couldn't begin to fathom what it would be like to be in the company of anyone else. It wasn't for lack of trying either. Hoisms. When I fully recovered, I visited Tinder again. Hoisms. But my confidence was gone. I unenthusiastically moved my pointer finger over faces. Each time I saw a man whose profile tickled my fancy in the slightest, I would glance down and remind myself that I was no longer good enough to meet in real life. Now, with every swipe, my mastectomy fogged my perspective, and I couldn't see what I used to when I looked at these potential suitors. A one-night stand, a dinner date, maybe even a mediocre boyfriend. But because of my mastectomy, I hesitated on all of it. My real breast had been synonymous with my sexuality, my confidence. I no longer had them, so I no longer had any of it. Things started changing on the day of one of my best friend's weddings. Hoisms is usually what follows with that sense. Like most brides, we were exuding happiness, and it was infectious. It had been a while since I had smiled happiness, and it was It had been a while since I had smiled without forcing myself to. Yet there was lips turned up without the help so much of alcohol or a half milligram of Klonopin. Hoisms. I suppose love, even being a third-party observer to it, can do that to a person no matter how unhappy they are. Hoisms. Now it says that, and she goes on to say, so that night I met someone. I should have disliked him. He was blonde, a hunter, a bad dancer, but he was also witty and charming. He seemed eager to go home with me. No effing shit, you dumb bitch. And it was even after I informed him that he could look but not touch my breasts because of my recent double mastectomy. Throughout the evening, I reminded him of my surgery. Why? Anyways, I didn't want him to think I had tricked him into bed once he saw my breasts, how they really look like without the bridesmaid dress on. Come on. She goes on to say, he didn't seem bothered. Yeah, no shit. And I started to think that maybe he didn't know what a mastectomy was. He probably didn't. But eventually, though, we got an Uber. I'd imagine what sex would be like post-mastectomy many times during my recovery. And I thought that the only logical response to my new titties would be to horror followed by rejection. Never. Hoisms. And I mentally prepared for this sad possibility on the ride home. Luckily, this was not the case. For the first time in a long time, on a freaking blown up mattress in Kansas, I forgot about my double mastectomy. I forgot what that surgeon had sculpted away all my breast tissue and left me with blubbery implants in its place. I forgot how fearful I was to be naked with another person, and most importantly, I forgot how much I loathed my new body. I mean, if she would have got new ass and legs, now I understand it'd be a new body, but whatever, I digress. She goes into saying there was just me, him, and a gaudy shag carpet with loads of incredible sex. Ooh, hoisms. That night, I discovered a sliver a sliver of body integrity that I had managed to maintain even after the double mastectomy. I also made the delightful realization that I could enjoy having sex with or without my real breast by focusing on parts of myself that I do have sensation. Well, no shit, bitch. And I discovered that a hand running from my upper spine to my inner thigh could feel wonderful. And I found confidence in my kiss and realized that my lips are as sensitive, if not even more than my nipples. My breasts were not the star of the show or even a primary storyline. For once, they were what I focused on. The night it made me realize that I had been so hungry for a sign of acceptance of my new body from a stranger, but what my body needed for me was to accept it. Fake boobs and all. My nigga hoisms. Now I'm gonna leave a link to the article so you can take a look at it, cause I'm sure she wanted to be inspirational, and I'm sure it had to be hard to look at herself, cause hell, me being the plus size, big old batch of sexiness that I am, it's very difficult to be able to see, which is I guess why I'm glad I'm not in the game trying to get laid on Tinder, so again, I'm not bagging on what she's doing, but you also gotta accept that we're so again, just to show the narcissism and how we look at ourselves and how we just focus and how we argue, not knowing that people don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? And you telling someone, hey, I'm just here to F and I won't see you ever again, you're not breaking hearts, lady. Like, that's unfortunately sometimes just and it just comes full circle to men, and I'm pretty sure there's good fellas out there, looking for love, and no doubt, especially if you haven't found love, that's something that we seek for and we need the most, and a lot of times because we know we can usually find it or settle somewhere down the road, we consume ourselves in our hoisms. So again, this was not, I'm not hoe shaming, slut shaming, whatever the eco term for it is, but that article was pretty much, again, again, embrace the word hoe. Don't take hoe as a bad word, alright? I'm not degrading the word hoe. You be the best hoe that you can be. And I'm glad that you have a medium and a vehicle and a platform where you can express your hoisms and other people can enjoy your wholeness and you guys can be whole together. Body and all. Fake boobs and all. But ultimately what I'm trying to say, because I'm going to keep it moving because we're definitely getting to the end of it. This is going on pretty long. I don't know about you. I don't know how you feel. I don't know if you're still with me. I hope so. But what I want to tell you is to not stress over it. All these things, all these labels, all these names that we're given, yo, don't stress it. The main reason why I'm telling you not to stress it is because a new study links that stress hormone to change in brain volume. And that doesn't necessarily mean that stress is to blame, but it's a big factor. Now, this new study was showing that people with higher levels of stress hormones tend to have smaller brains. And that doesn't mean to cause one or the other, but again, they see that pattern. So, and I'm going to put a link to it because there's a lot of mumbo jumbo in this and a lot of back and forth, a lot of contradiction, but I still thought it fascinating nonetheless, because you figure anytime you focus in on something, you're zoning in, you're closing in, you're zeroing in, and when you zero in, you make smaller because all the other BS to the sides are going without saying. So again, trying, and it's so easy to say, oh yeah, well, don't stress it, be free, or or don't worry about it, but it's more difficult than that because it's so easy to get lost in all the negativity. It's so easy to to look at just the bad and get lost in it. I mean, it's a terrible thing, and I know one of the things, again, it causes so much, and it's such a nasty loop-de-loop that the what you can do the most for yourself, because oh man, I wish I could play it. And I mentioned this last week, being really into this artist named Phil Harmonic. He had a song called Self Love, again a little bit Drake-ish or whatever, but that's the trend. And whatchamacallit, he has a song called Self Love, and it's so important both in where it takes your mind, but also just in what it does to you. Because again, everything has its domino effect. I mean, without being without getting too deep or getting too sappy, like everything has its progression, and it has its domino effect, and just it falling down and it leading to so many other things. And I think we owe ourselves enough because again, and I guess the main hook and the most out of self-love is that in order to love someone else, you got to be able to love yourself. And sometimes you could tell that we love ourselves too much with, again, our narcissistic actions, and how we focus again on the sexy, on the material, on all the bullshit. That's not the point. That's not where I want you guys to go. That's not where you should focus in on, because all that material, that fades. Looks, it fades. What's true and what's most earnest is, is love. It's all the things that we get filled with, that, that have no explanation, that have sometimes no rhyme or reason. It's those very things that not only fuel us, but kind of give us hope. It's probably like the biggest medicine outside of laughter, because I think laughter is what gets us through the hard times. And again, it's that very bit of love that will definitely push us over whatever hurdle, we're trying to get over. And that's why a lot of reason why people that they turn to religion. Like, you don't have to be an ignorant kook to believe in God. It's not the case, and it's usually not until you go through those hard times that you even question contemplations of belief, whether it's disbelief and not wanting to continue something that you figure hasn't given you ear, or that hasn't given you any help. And a lot of times, or most times, as far as where I found myself really at my end's rope, is just that there is something way higher, and that as easy as it is to be blessed and to be looked after, you got to be able to make your trenches through the mud and through the mire. And obviously not everything worth having is going to come easy or come so quickly. And a lot of times people, they do get lucky, or they, whether it be due to whatever cards that they might have been dealt, a lot of people, they have the upper hand in most things. But I really feel like those that that are determined and that don't stop, the blessings come with that. Because obviously, and again, without sounding too preachy, I'm saying God makes you who you are, in both what He's blessed you with, what He's taken away from you, and what He's allowed you to develop into. Because all of that correlates with one another. It's not just a matter of what you had, what you were given. It's about what you've earned, where you found yourself, the routes that you've taken. And even though we make mistakes, and no one can, no one outside of someone as holy as Jesus or Yeshua or whatever other alien-like creature that for whatever reason isn't crippled by our weaknesses in the body or in will or whatever lustful nature that brings us to our demise or to our knees, sucking dick to try to get the cable paid. Like, whatever that it is that limits us, also know that that very thing is hopefully, and I know it sounds oxymoron like or contradictory to say it's also our strength. That's where we have to look beyond what we're able to do, but only once we've done all that we can. And if you haven't done all that you can, then you really can't complain or say that you've been pushed to your limit. Because again, it's not until that happens and you're able to hopefully circumvent and keep going and make it over the thing that you're able to hopefully prevail, and you're able to do better, and you're able to win, and you're able to continue that momentum and hopefully pass that energy on to others, so that again, you keep winning and you keep that circle with you. And I guess because I didn't know whether to leave y'all with some creepy facts or conspiracy theories. I mean, considering that we're in the stem of Halloween, I'll save some conspiracy theories for another day. And I'm going to go into some creepy facts that hopefully will freak you out. Hopefully will lead into my little closing clip here from Adam Sandler's 100% Fresh, which ain't 100% fresh because I saw this earlier in the year when he came out to Phoenix. But I really respect the route that he's taking. I'm jumping everywhere now. I went from trying to be serious to trying to segue in my next segment to then letting you know how I'm going to close this thing off. Give me one of the Nintendo Switch. Yo. Going down the list here of some creepy facts that I hope will titillate you, even if you got fake tits. Surgery predates anesthesia. There are tons of shoes near the Titanic. The reason for this is that once the ship hit the bottom of the ocean, corpses rained down around the wreckage. The fish ate the bodies, but no fish in that depth, in that area, could eat the leather that most shoes were made of at the time. The penalty for armed robbery in northern Sudan is crucifixion. If you are HIV positive, you are unprotected sex, or you have unprotected sex with someone else who is HIV positive but has a different strain of HIV, you still risk something called superinfection, which I guess is when your original strain of HIV meets a different strain of HIV to form a super strain of HIV. So then this new strain is sometimes resistant to HIV medications. Protect yourself. Hoisms. 1 in 50 of us is walking around with a brain aneurysm, and it just hasn't ruptured yet. We can be obliterated instantaneously from something in space that we couldn't possibly even see coming. Babies in the womb can be startled and cry. However, there's no air as their lungs and airways are filled with amniotic fluids until birth, and thus no sound. Ducks can become cannibals due to boredom. Hoisms. During World War II, the Japanese used prisoners of war to try and find a cure for frostbite by dousing them in water and leaving them outside in the snow. And then they would amputate the arms and legs, leaving the victim without nothing but a head and torso. Now, at the time of the protein in your, or at any time, one of the proteins in your brain could misfold and cause a prion disease, and we don't know why. We are only aware of the serial killers who have slipped up. So imagine the ones that have gone away. Now, when 150,000 Japanese soldiers were left for dead in Papu's, P-A-U, New Guinea, they resorted to some kind of short straw decision making. And the loser would always run, be shot, and then eaten by his fellow comrades. Dogs love squeaky toys, not because of how playful it sounds, but because after years of evolution, before killing their prey, which were mostly small animals like rabbits, they would hear loud squeals. Savage. After the atomic bomb was dropped in Hiroshima, there were some people who were close enough to have their faces melted, but not killed. And for a few days before they died of dehydration because they wandered around moaning with their mouths melted shut. Now, the average 20-year-old has about 1,500 weeks left in life. It's possible to accidentally kill yourself by cracking your neck like you do your knuckles. Now, a chimpanzee penis is covered in spikes. Most of us have no idea what we've agreed to when signing terms and conditions, which is why they can do whatever they want. The sun could have exploded just this second, but we won't know for another 8.5 minutes. Pray. Some rattlesnakes hibernate by coiling together underground, leaving you with the possibility of digging into a giant ball of snakes during the winter. Suck on that. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, again, to all my Reese's Pieces in between, I appreciate y'all. If y'all have done what you do while you do what I do and listen to this song, I know I've been all over the place. I probably shouldn't have toked up near the end of that, but you know what? Hey, we made it to this point. We got out some things. I feel better. I hope it was good for you. And as random as some things might be, they all correlate together. So, you know what I'm saying? Don't think I'm just, you know what I'm saying, someone with adult autism. But again, I won't judge you if that's what you're going through. Again, God bless you. And just know whether you want to talk shit, whether you want to say hi, whether you just want to, I don't know, become a producer of the show. You can always go to www.patreon.com/SoulPapo. Again, that's SoulPapo. So if ever you wanted to be my friend, again, talk some shit, or maybe, you know what I'm saying, just chat it up with me, whether about life, about news that you see, what have you. Again, you can reach me on most social medias at SoulPapo. So that's SoulPapo. And supposedly, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to be reconnected with my brother from another mother, Mr. Arizona Verse, again, with this new show called Arizona Soul. So I hope that y'all can be here. If not, I'm still going to be here, and we're going to get back into it with next week's news. So don't even bother getting lost in all that ish throughout the week. I'm going to come back with all the most important things. So I wish you well. God bless you. iCame.
Going out on a Saturday night, brand new button down, looking alright. If you're smart, you'll lock up your daughter, cause I'm horny and wearing cool water. Grab my keys and ride to the club. Tell the ladies I'm looking for love. Then I see something juicy and red. I got a big fucking zit on my forehead. Hey, hey, zit on the forehead. Hey, hey, bit the lovely forehead. My pizza face is unattractive. Where's Katy Perry with my tuba proactive? Hey, hey, zit on my forehead. Hey, hey, bit the lovely forehead. No lady's gonna jump in my bed, cause I got a big fucking zit on my head. Oh. Okay, now the first thing we do is cover it up. No one needs to know this thing showed up, load up. This shit is as big as a skittle. Take my sister's makeup and I rub it in the middle. Uh-oh, now the thing kinda hurts. When I touch it, the thing kinda squirts. What did I do to deserve this shit? I got the world's biggest barhead zit. Fuck no, hey, hey, zit on my forehead. Hey, hey, volcano on a forehead. This thing is a fucking disaster. Ate some chocolate, made it grow faster. Hey, hey, zit on the forehead. Hey, hey, pimple on the forehead. Wish I had a disease instead, but I got a big fucking zit on my head. Okay, now we pop it, make it go splat. Now stop it, you're not supposed to do that. When I push it, out come the jelly. Put a band-aid on and look like Nelly. Maybe this is an overreaction. Maybe I can still get some action. A pretty mama comes over to flirt, but then my jumbo zit explodes on her shirt. Fuck no, hey, hey, sit on the forehead. Hey, hey, you little of the forehead. Don't know what the fuck I should do, and I gotta sit on my butt cheek too. Hey, hey, little of the forehead. Hey, on the forehead. Wait, hell yes, I might see some tits, cause here comes a girl with a chin full of zits.
God bless you. I came again.